line 170. We thought we were gonna be able to, or he thought he was gonna be able to get the repair done this year. So this line was maybe gonna go down, but, so it's at 10,000 right now, but I don't think between now and town meeting it will change. And I think those are the significant ones in there. There was a couple little changes. I don't know that there's any other big ones to talk about. Let's see, highway, Scott okayed all of these. The propane was adjusted to 6,000. The equipment rental was brought down, mainly because of history. Let's see, the other line is vehicle maintenance and repair was adjusted because of history also. Of course, we just never know. But we do have the emergency fund. And parts and equipment also came down to 9. Contracted services, line 219, was adjusted down to 20,000. Matt also in the transfer budget went back through his numbers for me and decided that on line 236 for training and certifications could come down to 600. And he also recalculated the recycling, the zero sort. It's going up significantly, but he thinks that 20,000
Can I interrupt you a minute?
Sure.
Scott Scare, are you familiar with what's been done to your budget?
Yeah.
The first thing I said when I got to his budget was that Scott was okay with all of this.
Well, I wanna make sure he has a chance to say something since he's here.
People might have questions, that's good. Okay, let's see, Parks and Rec, so over here on line 280, we had put some money in there to have the common trees done. They weren't done this year, but we adjusted that down to 2,000. Then we have that line 286, that is the pond program coordinator. The 3,500 was removed, added to the lifeguards in 291. And then the beach monitoring staff for the monitors, 293 was adjusted down to 4,000. So some was taken from that because we don't, it's just the history of it. We don't use that much, so we thought, the board thought 4 was enough. Library, they were gracious enough to take out that $5,000 on line 313.
That was for building maintenance, right?
That was for building maintenance, it was for the front steps. Yeah. And that's it, voila, you're down to 2,821,494 for a 2.2% increase.
All right, do people have any comments they wanna make? Are we ready to recommend, or not recommend, but to send the 28-21-494 to public hearing? That would be article number 3 on the town warrant. If people don't have any things they wanna discuss.
Yes,
I just
thanks.
want to express appreciation to all the departments for going back and looking and, taking a little bit off where they could. So that's important.
Getting it down under inflation. I mean, how much?
You're not there, fucking die.
Holy moly. Put
Who was
on
that?
mute. I don't know, but they need to be muted.
Yeah, just that,
So they ominous.
it shows that everybody's trying to do their best to keep the costs of the town down. People should be aware of that. The only other thing I thought I'd mention about the trees on the common is that might be private money might be a source for helping out with that, if people are, complaining about trees not being there.
Well, nobody's complained, it's not for replanting, it's for caring for the ones that are
Okay.
there.
I see.
Because we're having a lot of problems with damage and breakage. And the last time we had Henderson come and look at them, there were about 5 of them that they recommended cutting down.
6, by the way, there were
So,
6 of them,
we're-
get it fucking right.
Somebody has
I
been
put
on
them
here that should not be on here.
Yes.
Wow. So it's mainly to care for them and take care of them and trim them and feed them and see if we can save some of them. We're gonna have to probably cut down.
Some more,
Yeah.
they're not
Every
healthy.
time we go to cut one though, it
Somebody will
upsets,
cry.
it upsets people so, and I get it, but,
Mother Nature's doing a lot of trimming recently.
yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff from the last storm on the common that we have to get picked up, but, and Matt will get to that, but it's, yeah, they're in bad shape.
All right, are we ready, any more comments on town warrant Article 3 at 2821,494?
So moved. Second.
Who was the second? I think it was
Rich.
Scott?
Rich Brown.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, the next item in the town warrant, and I don't think we have any supplemental on it, is the 2 capital reserve and trust funds, and that's actually outgoing taxpayer money. And that's a $410,000 total, and they're not in the OE budget. And is it the same as last year? I didn't look.
No, it's up $20,000 from last year. Last year it was down to $390.
It's the vehicles that's got it up.
And it will probably continue to be at that or a little more as we go forward. Because
So
the
the
cost of
vehicle
the
is-
vehicles,
The vehicle is plus 20K,
Plus 50.
plus 50K.
Mhm.
Doesn't surprise me. Now, how about the heavy equipment with what we,
It's at 30.
is that plus or is that the same?
It was 10, so that's plus 20. And the bridge has nothing put in it, and that was 50. Last year at least.
Right. Does anybody have any questions about the allocation into the funds? James?
Just remind me, so you wanna raise this amount this year,
That is correct.
and what is the balance of the fund?
Oh, boy.
There's many, many funds. Every fund is separate.
Of each of these
Yeah,
is,
and
has a separate balance?
Each of them has a separate
All right,
balance.
you don't have to tell me
No,
now,
but money goes in each year, not to every single one of them, and then money is spent, not out of every single one of them, but in your town report. I forget what page it is, but you can, there's a report from the, Bar Harbor, and it tells what the balance is at the end of last year, and then I track it by just obviously adding what we put in and what we spent, so.
And you have to put it in ahead of time. We ran into trouble one year where we, let's say, was buying a dump truck for $120,000. We had $100,000 in the fund,
Mhm.
and we were putting in $50,000. They said,
Thinking
no,
you
you
could-
can't do it. You gotta have it in there at the beginning of the year if you're
Well,
gonna
we
spend it.
always did it that way, but then they told us we couldn't.
yeah.
And the withdrawal, as we can see,
You
it
guys.
takes a while.
Takes the town to
That's
say it's
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
On some of them.
Some of them are not, like emergency repair funds, the selectmen can take.
Okay.
There are a number of the school funds that the school board can take, like enrollment response and special ed and high school tuition are the ones that immediately come to mind in the school board.
And now the fire department can take out of the safety equipment fund that they need when
Yeah.
they need to, and police can take out of substance abuse.
I know this was all explained to me last year, but
A reminder is good.
Well, but a rough order of magnitude here is helpful, because the
Absolutely.
taxpayer today doesn't wanna pay for, how do I know there's not $3 million in the vehicle capital reserve
Right.
fund because you wanna buy a Lamborghini?
Right.
And I don't know, I mean, like, there needs to be, there needs to be a reason. Oh, okay,
Right.
that's
Well,
them, yeah.
And I usually have, I'm sorry, and I can do it at the
Okay.
next meeting, but I usually have a little printout, and it shows what we have in it, you know, what we spent this year, what we'll have, so. And what
We
spent it on.
did get a schedule for the heavy equipment and vehicle fund earlier
Yeah,
in
you
the
did.
process.
Right.
That showed when stuff was supposed to come
Yeah.
out.
Right. I don't
The
remember what
schedule.
it said, but.
Yeah,
And it was very hard to read.
yeah,
Um, And I think the important thing in terms of a change is, so people know about it, because this would affect what you're putting in. We're not putting money in to replace the excavator. When the excavator dies, it's gone. But we'll follow through with the backhoe and keep the backhoe, which will, because it can be driven on the roads, it can respond when something gets washed out, whereas the excavator can't, because it has to be trailerized. And also the backhoe gives us a bucket if the loader fails during a winter storm for loading trucks with sand and salt. So there's reason why the backhoe is more versatile for us.
well, I think Scott's here to address some questions when you get to that warrant article too.
Yeah,
Since I'm on the trustee of the trust funds, I happen to have the December 1st of '23 report. If anybody cares, I can read off the balances on these funds. Starting at the top, the vehicle capital reserve fund has, I'm just gonna put it nearest thousand, 506,000. The heavy equipment capital reserve fund has 193,000. Property reappraisal, 54,000. Class 5 roads. Here we go. 466,000. Public Works Capital Reserve Fund, 51,000. Computer system upgrade, 10,000. Firefighting safety equipment. Sorry, I'm not seeing it here. Just a sec. Oh, there it is, 47,000. And the recreation facilities, CRF. I know it's here. There we go, 16,000.
The bridge is not on there, the bridge capital reserve fund.
how much is in the
There's
bridge?
400 and something,
400,000?
400 and something, I think.
Because bridge repairs can get very, very expensive, very, very
Yeah.
quickly.
417.
Also, those don't take into consideration what was spent this year out of them,
You know,
that balance there. One of them it does, but it doesn't.
the vehicles would,
Right. The roads, it doesn't. We spent 240,000 this year out of
Yes.
roads, so.
Do you think you, would
But
you-
I'll do that for next week.
I was just gonna
Yes,
ask if you
I'll
would
do
be
my
able to
little
have that
spreadsheet that I
That'd be
do,
great.
because it's nice.
all right, would you like to leave this one for next week when we see the totals, or are
Yeah,
people ready
I
to?
have one question, which was, for a fire truck replacement, is that part of the vehicle capital reserve fund, or
Yes.
that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes,
so that's,
Would that be one?
we've gotta get that up a
Yeah.
lot more than what we,
But it's also highway trucks, right? Is
Yeah.
that- Yes, it's
and the
basically.
police cruiser,
Right.
and the pickup truck that Matt has.
but the one thing we do now with the fire truck, at least we did with the last one, is we spread it out over 7 years.
That's the
We
current
don't,
one.
we don't, so it's a payment of 100
Right, so
and
we
something
financed it.
thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did with
Yeah, but we still-
Mascoma, and it was like less than 3%, so they gave us a great deal.
Yep.
So,
Is it the select board that decides how much to put into these funds each year, or how much to ask for,
Mhm.
right, based on anticipated expenses?
Yeah, we're trying to look to the future as to what we're going to need that we know about.
Right.
And try and build these up until we need to draw them down, and of course, it's an imperfect science, but, and, I guess that's the answer.
Why is class 5 road rehab so high?
Because it's a major project when you
Because
tackle
you-
a road like
I
Goose
know.
Pond Road.
Have we
because you
been
just
doing-
spent 240,000 this year, that's not accounted
Oh,
for.
class
in there.
5, okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's-
class 5, not 6,
when
5.
Oh,
Dina-
yeah. I was
Dina-
thinking it was
You were
class
thinking
6.
6, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
thinking, so what's
No,
going
no.
on in the
Yeah,
backwoods?
yeah, no.
Actually, state law, you can't spend
That's
taxpayer
right.
money on a class 6 road.
Yeah, I was thinking class 6,
No,
sorry.
so yeah,
excuse
and
me.
that'll, these numbers will all change slightly, that will change quite a bit when you get the, what came out of it.
Now, question, do we wanna look at it again next week, or are we ready to go with the 410 to the public hearing? I wanna get a sense of the meeting.
I'm ready to go.
Yep, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, you gonna move them?
I'll move it, 410,000 for the reserve fund warrant article.
You got a second, Judy?
Sure, I'll second it.
And all those in favor of the 410 going to public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Repairs to the Edgeo Bridge. That comes out of the bridge fund, correct?
Some of it. You don't have enough in it to pay for the
That was just what I said about bridge
$690,000.
repairs.
Do you want me to give a quick little synopsis, Judy, or do you wanna do it?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So obviously you can see that by the warrant article, the total repairs, that's been estimated at $690,000. So the select board would like to withdraw 250 from the bridge capital reserve fund, because of course they don't wanna drain it, we have 13 other bridges in town. And we have been fortunate enough over the last year or so to get some one-time state bridge funding that totals $888,589.
180.
180.
No, that totals $88,589. And then we have $100,000 that has been given to the town as a donation towards the Edgeo Bridge project at this time. But we have an active group that is soliciting some money, funding donations from people in town and in the area who love historic wooden bridges. And their goal is to raise, they've donated 50,000 apiece, so there's 1,000, and their goal is to raise 200. So they're hoping to raise 300 total. Now, we don't know what they're gonna come back with, so we can't plan on that in here. So we have to have 190,000 raised from taxation. But obviously, the hope is to cover that and the 61,000 with the donations, which they're pretty sure that they'll meet that goal. So that's why it's written the way it's written. And it can be adjusted. By town meeting, you guys can vote on it like this or tweak it however you want, but when it comes to town meeting day, let's say we have great news and we have, $200,000. We can adjust it by that so that the 190 could be totally canceled out and you won't be raising anything from taxation. So it just depends on what it brings in total.
Is everybody thoroughly confused?
No,
Are people ready to have this go to the public hearing as written? I'm trying to figure out how many dollars are each way.
so moved.
So I guess you could think of it that you're only voting to raise from taxation $190,000.
Do I hear a second vote? All those in favor of sending it to public hearing as written, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Block grant, that's usually very easy, since it's, do we have to,
Yeah,
we have to vote on it even though
You
it's?
should vote to recommend it even though it's not raised by taxation.
All right, everybody know what that is?
Sorry.
That's basically our share of the gasoline tax.
Yeah.
And it's allocated on the basis of lane miles to the communities of New Hampshire. And the legislature tried to take it away from the communities a number of years ago and put it in a state DOT and didn't get very far.
well, this warrant article 6 is $95,000.
And that's just an estimate, exactly.
You know, usually right about this time you get the letter from.
Yeah, and it's been a little more than that each year, and they're, yeah.
Do I hear
It's gonna go up.
a move to send it to public hearing
So
as
moved.
written?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Withdrawal from the Public Works Facility Capital Reserve Fund. 81,017 for the fire station bond. I don't think that's one we have much choice on.
Nope, you don't.
Do I hear a motion to recommend that to the
So moved.
Whoops and Scott?
Yep, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Vehicle Capital Reserve Fund withdrawal of 82,252. This is the fire truck?
Yep. Yep,
Was the previous one was,
fire station.
oh, fire station, now we're at fire truck. Oh, no wonder I'm confused. It comes out of a different fund, it's another one where we already signed a contract, so I guess we don't have much choice
I'll
on
move it.
You could, but
Second.
that. Who seconded it there, James?
fire
Mr.
department
Chair, I
would be
would
happy
ask,
with it.
oh, Bill, sorry, Bill, I'm in the wrong article, go ahead.
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Heavy Equipment Capital Reserve Fund is $144,000 for the backhoe. And that's out of the fund.
Mhm.
Yes. No amount to be raised by taxes, but it is out of the capital reserve fund. I will move it.
I'll second.
And now, Mr. Chair, we should correct the spelling of heavy equipment in the title.
Very good catch.
Oh, it's in the language
It,
of the
it hasn't,
body too.
it hasn't been spell checked yet, guys.
Don't run the spell checker, we'll all be in hangover.
Sounds like a brand name.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Thank you, Scott.
Does anybody have any questions about it, or Scott's here if anybody has any from the operating of it?
So, well, I don't know when this was discussed, so the idea is we have currently an excavator that might break, and now we're buying a backhoe to replace that, or?
We have a backhoe.
We have a backhoe.
Scott's
Oh.
not to it.
We have a backhoe which is 26 years old.
Yeah,
It's done. And if we, like, for example, the windstorm we had, the backhoe was going, I mean, almost all day. The excavator, you got a trailer,
That's, you drive it up to my property from where it is probably.
yeah,
That's,
I mean, that's,
no, okay, so, but this is essentially, the excavator has nothing to do with it, what you're doing is you're saying the old backhoe that you already have and are using is at
Yeah.
the end of its life, and, yeah, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
you're trading
it was,
in.
they refurbished it like, probably 12 years ago, and it was supposed to last, you know,
Yeah.
another 5 years. So,
And you're trading that in and they're giving you a great deal, right?
yeah,
What kind are you getting?
For the steel.
That's right.
cat, I believe.
I'm not kidding you.
Worth its weight in gold, is that what it is?
Well, it's cheaper than an excavator too.
Yeah, I bet it is. Alright.
Any further questions about the 144 for the backhoe? All right, we had a, what is it, Judy moved, Scott second.
Mhm.
My those in favor of sending it to public hearing, ayes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right. The next one is the discontinuance, that's not a budget committee vote. Article 11 is the Independence
Can I
Day.
ask a quick question? So that means you can't, can you walk over it? Can you go over it with an ATV?
If
that
it's
section?
discontinued, it's gone, so
So they'll like
there's no
block,
public right of way left.
so you'll just block it off or?
The town won't do anything. It'll be up to the landowners.
I see.
What happens is it reverts to the landowner and there's no
Uh-huh.
public right of way anymore.
So, but there is a landowner, cause it's a road.
Yes.
It
Uh-huh.
goes
each
to the
side.
adjacent property owners.
I see, okay, just curious.
But the big thing is, when you discontinue it, there is no public right of way left. If it's a class 6 road, then it is a public way in
Mhm.
terms of being able to walk on it. That's the difference.
So then it's up to the owners whether they are gonna let
They
people
could
walk
post
across
it.
it or not. It's,
Yeah.
Right,
I see, and people will vote
It's like Chris and Matt.
to either discontinue or not discontinue it then. What happens if they don't discontinue, what if people don't vote to discontinue?
and it stays
And it's
on
not
class six.
discontinued.
Yeah,
It's currently class 6.
yeah, cause people do, like, you, either with ATVs or on foot, people use it.
Yeah. Sorry, we're getting
What is
hacked
happening?
away
We're getting
tonight.
tonight.
Why?
I don't know.
That is weird,
This
I've
is
never
the big
seen,
news.
this is the first time I've
Somebody's
ever
really
seen that
interested.
happen.
No, they're not.
Anyway.
We can
well,
tell
just-
by the
That's
name,
just
we
a
couldn't
curiosity, we
recognize
don't
it.
have to linger on it, cause it's really not for us to
When
decide, so.
we're going, the board will be having an additional meeting about this warrant article, and we'll see if we want to leave it in, or take it out, or change it. And whatever our final resolution is, if we go forward, there will be information posted that people will see, which will
Yeah.
explain the different alternatives and.
Are you gonna discuss it at a select board meeting, for, like, will people have an opportunity to speak about
Um,
what they want to the select board before they make a, like,
I
a
would suggest
recommendation
if
on the
That's
article?
town meeting,
Hmm?
town meeting.
Just town meeting.
They'll have a
meeting
big
is the
discussion about it,
opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
But the budget committee does not vote on that.
no,
since-
yes, that's
All right.
correct.
Now, the Independence Day Special Revenue Fund, that is, there's no tax money
Nope.
involved in it, it's donations and collections from
It's
buying.
just sitting there
dinners
waiting
and
for
stuff.
somebody to have a party.
It's party time, gentlemen.
It's all donated funds.
Yep.
So, do I hear a motion of the 6747, which I believe is the balance, correct?
Correct.
James,
I'll second.
who was second? Scott?
Scott did.
Those in favor, sending it to public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Milfoil at 37,045. 18523 to come from DES. And this is a non-lapsing item. Are people familiar with the ongoing milfoil war on Post Pond?
Didn't the conservation board kick in some dollars last year?
That's
How about
why,
this year?
that's why you're not, I have to hear from the auditors to get the final number, but if the number is right, that I have, that's in this fund, there's no money needed from the conservation or from the town this year.
Oh,
If it's not right, well, then
because
we
it's
ask the
not an absent
conservation,
aspect.
then we ask the conservation. Yeah, it just rolls over, what's spent or not spent.
This
sits
would
there.
be the authority to spend the 37. Doesn't say raise and appropriate, does it?
Yes,
No. Well, every one of them says that.
Yeah, appropriation, it's raise and appropriate, so theoretically it could be raised by taxes.
Yeah, if it had to be.
Any further discussion about this one? Any reservations or anything about it?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Good idea.
And I can happily add that we have a volunteer, great active volunteer group that does a lot of milfoil weed picking. And they help the person that works with the state to do a lot of this, and it saves money. And this year, we didn't spend the full amount, you know, we didn't have to have as many divers, and so it really makes it's a plus to have that group. It's been great.
And the problem with it is if you don't do something, it takes over the whole pond.
Well, we're probably never gonna get rid of it.
All right, those in favor of sending to the public hearing the 37,045, ayes?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Withdrawal from the cemetery maintenance gifts and donation
Every
fund.
year.
All right, that's 15,991 maintenance. Is this still left over from that gift that they haven't spent yet?
It's still left over from the WISE donation, and it was supposed to be spent last year on the computer software. That hasn't happened yet, so we had to vote it again, and it's gonna be done this year. We have a big GIS thing that has to be done first, that's been kind of a holdup. Then we had a change in the sextant, and da-da-da-da-da, so.
Just so-
Cemetery needs computers software?
Well, this program, it's a software program, and it maps out your lots, and then you can go.
Keep track of who's buried
Yeah,
where.
and who's buried where, that's right.
They're not going anywhere, you
No,
know,
they're not.
unless his
They're not.
excavator.
They're
is-
not, that's right.
Just so people know, this originated as a gift. And if you spend a gift in the year you receive it, you don't have to vote at town meeting. But if you don't spend it, then it has to show up on the warrant every year until you do spend it. So the trick is to spend gifts as soon as you get them. Is that a good explanation, Judy?
That's good, a lot of teenagers would like that explanation.
But this was a gift.
I would move it.
You move sending 991 to town, to the public hearing.
Budgetary public hearing. I'll
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Standard.
And that's it, the
That's it
next,
for you guys.
We don't vote on the veterans
No,
no,
tax credits.
and the Lyme Community Power Electric also is.
we only
All right, I guess
voted
we're-
on them last year, so now we have to
Everything
vote.
from the town then is ready to go to the public hearing.
Yay.
Super duper.
Thank you.
All My goodness gracious, we won't have to talk about town then. Now we're up
Thank
to
you.
Janet.
Bye, Scott. Hey, and before we switch from the town to the, school, everybody, I can't really let you read it, but look for your next Lyme historian. It's about the Edgeo Bridge.
And
Well, public relations for that, yeah. And for a dare.
and I bet I still have some
Great
pictures on
article.
my computer from
That would be great,
Hampshire
if you did.
DOT of the Edgeo Bridge.
That would be great.
I have some pictures of the construction of the East Netford Bridge in the thirties. Well, you look at the cranes back then, they're weird. All right, Janet, I guess you have to come to the table. You can't hide in the back row anymore.
Oh, that's not good. Alright, I'll move up.
Do you want my spot so you can put your?
No, that's okay, I can sit
Step
right on the edge here, right? Everybody
Oh,
can
it's
hear me?
up to you.
Yes, thank you.
Now, when we look at the school budget, I think we have to look at, we've got this sort of semi-spreadsheet, for lack of a, it's a PDF document you sent us. It's 13 pages long, and we've got a warrant. And
So I can tell you what changed between the last one and this one, is that the easiest way to do it?
that's the best way to do it.
Okay. So on the first page, we actually got the actual tuition numbers in from the Vermont schools and the New Hampshire schools. So this number has changed, so it reflects actual tuition dollars. And there's a $50,000 trust applied to this, so it's been reduced by $50,000.
So we've created a deficit?
Yep.
Right, and so we'll take 50K from the trust.
Right,
So you're looking at
the very
the
front page.
front page, the first bold line,
Yep,
the dollar change, $55,060.
correct.
Okay.
The second thing that was changed was on page 2, under the enrichment instruction line, was corrected to read $17,984. And thank you for pointing that out, appreciate it. The next thing that was changed was, there were a couple corrections. There was a dental insurance error in buildings and grounds and things like that. So those were small, little things that were adjusted. But the next big line was on page 10, under transfer to food service. And that number went from 25,000 to 65,000.
Service, transfer to, yeah,
To food service, yeah.
thank you.
And that was changed to accurately support the food service program. with tax dollar revenue. So overall, the difference between the last budget and this budget, this one's $33,336 more than the one we brought last time.
Say again, how many?
$33,336 more. And it went from a 2.18% increase to a 2.57% increase.
Now, one question, this is deceptive because it doesn't have the, what was Article 2, which is the teacher's salary increases.
That is correct.
So we theoretically, if we were looking at it as a regular OE budget,
Yep,
we would have to add the teacher's salary set aside.
correct. So the teacher's salary warrant article
2,
for year, right, Article 2, for the first year is $223,351 additional dollars. So that adds an additional 2.6% onto this budget,
0.6?
2.6.
So it's basically 5 point something.
Yeah, 5.1.
That's what I get.
So the total budget increase is 5.17 if we count Articles 1 and 2.
Yeah,
The inflation is down to 3%, so we're significantly more than inflation. Now, has the school board, Jen, has the school board voted on this budget?
No, we'll do that tomorrow night.
So
Because
therefore,
we didn't meet, I don't know, we were supposed to meet last week on Thursday, but it got canceled.
all right, I have a problem if we're gonna recommend a thing to go to public hearing for the budget committee if the school board has not voted on it. Do other people agree with me on that?
Yes.
So therefore, we should delay any action on this until next week.
Yeah, because we'll have our meeting tomorrow night.
the only thing that I can think of that might change in our warrant, besides the numbers, right, is the order of operations. I don't know if the DRA is gonna have a problem with the bond vote being Article 6. I don't know if they make you put it at the
Oh, it
beginning.
has to be one,
Yeah, so I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
So I think that might alter this warrant, but I haven't submitted it to the DRA yet.
Well, we've got two things. One is, I don't think the Board of the Budget Committee can act on the budget coming out of the SAU. We have to act on a budget that's been voted by the school board.
Yep.
Now, some of these articles, at least we've gotten an explanation from you, so at least we have a good idea where we are if the school board goes ahead with this. And then, so there, I don't think we can vote on it. Article 2 in your warrant would be the next article that's, I'm gonna go by your current draft warrant rather than what it may turn out to be in the end. Article 2 is the collective bargaining agreement. Well, I think the school board has already voted on that because they signed the collective bargaining agreement, so we theoretically could act on that if we want to. How's the feeling of the board about getting that one off the table? Since it's a contract that the school board's already signed, I don't think there's much we can do about it.
I'll do that.
Do I, Judy?
I'll move that, taking Article number 2 at this point, the collective bargaining agreement, to the budget committee's public hearing.
To the, do I hear a second?
Second.
Scott, was that okay? James? Are those in favor of Article 2 going to the public hearing as written?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right.
I have a question, what does an opposition vote do at this point?
It just get, wait a minute, the
But
school
in
board
minutes.
is not, in the school warrant, we do not have the vote of the budget committee, do we, on the warrant?
You do.
I think we
We
did.
do now?
Yeah,
All right,
I just won't do it until the very, very end.
yeah,
Yep.
all right. Because I remember we voted to have the town have it for a while, and we didn't have it at the school.
We did it, and we did it last year, I don't think we did the year before,
Yeah.
but the consensus was to put it in because people really do pay attention to it. Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is a majority rule on going to the public hearing, and this doesn't mean we're recommending it or not.
Right, because you don't do that until the public hearing,
Until after the
Right.
public's had a chance to tell us what they think of it.
right?
So it just goes in the minutes, basically.
so if enough
Well-
people were opposed to it, then it.
I understand that.
Yeah,
We would come up with an alternative number to go to the public hearing. We'd have to work on that if we post
I guess
it.
my question was, what does one opposition do?
Nothing.
Anything? It gets noted in minutes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't go in any sort of.
No.
Dick, I have a question.
Okay.
This is Bill.
Yeah,
Why can't we add the agreement amount to the budget if it's already been voted by the school board? Why is it a warrant article if
just
it's
a
already a done
RSA,
deal?
right?
That is required by the DOE, the state of New Hampshire, that the town vote on the money portion of the new CBA. And that's the salaries and benefits implication in year 1, 2, and 3 of the new contract year. And it actually has to be in this format.
it's a state
So the
requirement
reason
rather
is you're
than
not
law.
allowed to, Bill.
Say that again, Dina?
I said you're not allowed to do it that way.
To do it any
The
other way.
state says that you have to do it this way.
Well, what if the town doesn't approve it?
That's the town's prerogative,
Then
they
they
can
don't
say
get the
no.
money.
Yep,
Then they have to go back and renegotiate the contract.
that's correct.
So the town's voted would be negotiating in bad faith, I suspect, in that case.
Well, they just bring it back and they'd have to renegotiate.
Yeah, interesting. All right, thank you. Probably a side discussion, but
Uh-huh. I
Thanks.
always hated that. Anyways.
All right, the operating budget, the school board has not voted on it, so we will skip.
Why even Bill was on? I don't
Transfer of surplus to maintenance capital reserve. That's as if there is a surplus.
Mhm.
We've transferred our surplus to one of the capital reserve funds. This changes periodically which one gets it.
That's right.
So has the school board voted on this one? So they haven't,
We haven't voted on anything.
You talked about it
Uh,
last
we-
week,
okay.
No, we didn't meet last week.
yeah, in the afternoon. I don't think you were there.
What meeting was that?
Must
Must have been a facilities meeting, maybe they
No,
discussed
it was a
it?
school board meeting. It was before the,
Was it
budget
last week?
committee last week. It was earlier, it was at 6 o'clock at the school.
Why didn't I know about it?
I don't know.
There was a school board meeting before the budget committee
Okay.
meeting last week?
Dick.
Oh, I didn't even know.
So they just came to a consensus
Yeah.
that this is the
But
fund that
they
they were
said
gonna
you would
choose,
just
but they
come to
haven't
the
voted
meeting.
on any of these
They
articles.
haven't voted, so.
Last week I
that's
hadn't.
the answer.
I think we better skip it if there's a question.
Yeah.
And then we have the one that we always laugh about where we have an article for a couple hundred. But I assume the school board hasn't voted on that one yet either.
Mm-mm.
No, because I expect that to go right up to $1,500 for the treasurer.
Right. You should ask, Nina.
Whereas at
Ask
least,
and ye may possibly receive,
May
but
possibly.
don't ask and you'll
And
never, you'll never
nobody
get
does
what
that
you
job
want
for
if
the
you don't
money, let
ask
me
for
tell you,
it.
it's my community service.
all right, now the collective bargaining, obviously the school board has voted on it because they signed the
Yeah.
contract. So I think we were safe on
Right.
that. And they haven't voted on the bond. But I would like to say something about the bond.
The public hearing for the bond is tomorrow night during the board meeting.
All right.
So I think we have to have that public hearing before we can vote on it.
Yeah. But my concern about the bond, was other than just how much money it is it's got a lot of components in it that were all lumped together in terms of the heating system, in terms of lead paint, in terms of asbestos, painting the classrooms. You go down a list of multiple projects. And there's no indication of how much of this money is which multiple project. And my concern is there's certain things that are nice to have, and there's certain things that are definitely health and safety issues. And, you know, we're grandfathered on ADA bathrooms and a number of these things that are included in this. And there's no breakdown of how much money is being spent for which items. And before I can make any decision on the bond, I just don't like the idea of having everything lumped together in some huge pot, rather than, say, concentrating on the health and safety issues versus the nice to haves. That's my personal opinion, but I wanna throw it out there, because I don't think it's unique.
If I can also
James?
stay on the bond, it might be too late in the game at this point, but I think it would be helpful to understand what the alternatives would be, like, as we discussed last time, like, if they were to do another, encapsulation, what that would mean, what it would mean to, you know, even a rough estimate of what it would cost to replace that whole section of school, just so that the public can see, you know, what the alternatives are. There's only one thing given, it's like, this is the project, this is what it costs.
Yeah.
Well, whenever we do a project, you know, there are alternatives, it's like, we're not gonna, you know, we're gonna tear down our house and rebuild a new one, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna fix the old one we got, you know, so I think if possible, it would be good to see what some alternatives might be to this one big project.
Yeah. One thing I would like to see is, as soon as people say asbestos, everybody goes, oh, you know, and I was shocked to hear they hadn't done any air monitoring. I was in another
Right.
school and on a thing, and we had, people wanted to build a new art center, and it got way out of hand, got up to $60 million. We ended up redoing a gym to a fabulous new art center for $13 million. And so, just as James said, it'd be nice to know, hey, wait a minute, what else could we do with this much money?
So, like, is your concern there that since we haven't monitored for actual asbestos released
No,
into
just
the
do some
air?
Airborne
monitoring.
asbestosis.
Yeah, it's a respiratory issue.
Like, are we solving a problem that doesn't exist today, although I think the expectation is the problem will exist at some point in
Right,
time.
but I mean, air monitoring is not expensive, and it'd be nice to know.
And the other thing is, as long as the asbestos is encapsulated, it's not a health hazard.
And when you start tearing it up, it gets.
And then when you tear it up, that's when you really generate a health hazard,
Right.
because
That's
it
why
gets
it's so
all
expensive
over
to
the
do.
place.
Yeah.
But to the same point, right, like, there's no breakdown, how do we know that the new lighting controls aren't the Cadillac of lighting controls and there is something for a third of the price available that would work just as well?
Yeah, that's sort of my concern.
Yeah,
And some of the things may not be needed at all, but just nice to haves. And when people look at the number of dollars involved, they think there's gotta include an awful lot of nice to haves. In terms of the public's reaction to seeing that, you know, and we haven't even paid off the existing bond on the school yet.
For the addition, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that what the existing bond is? Cause
Yeah.
was the roof also bonded? Is that
Yeah,
done?
but
Or
that's
it's
really a
almost done?
loan from Mascoma, and that will end next year.
No, I don't know, I don't know a lot, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm the only person here, and Janet might know more, I don't know much about the details of this project because I'm not on the facilities committee and I haven't attended their meetings. I mean, in terms of comparing costs, as far as, I mean, there was a more expensive, more extensive project. So they were essentially when
There always
they
is.
had the construction team deliver two estimates, we'll call them tier one and tier two, where tier two was very expensive, and that was the alternative as far as I know. I don't know within the scope of the project that is being presented, like how many alternatives within that project have or haven't been discussed.
Well, the school board got, I think, $50K last,
To do the
Budget.
design,
to do a study of the school,
We haven't seen it.
yeah,
which should have generated some sort of a report,
yes, and I think
which
that
hasn't been made available.
no, I haven't seen one.
And
This
I have a
report.
real problem when you go spend public money to generate a report, and then that report isn't available, and you come to this committee asking for money to pay for something, without our seeing the report that is the basis of that request.
Can I ask a question? Tomorrow night,
Yes.
will that information be available?
I expect you would be able to have those questions answered because the construction manager will be at the hearing.
That's not what I asked for. I asked for their written report.
I know. I can touch base with Frank tonight, I mean, I'll send him an email tonight, and I have time tomorrow to meet with him to, like, ask him, is there a report, can we have a report? There should be, I agree. It's a
public
$2.5 million
information if you
project,
use
it ought to
public
be,
money.
it ought to be itemized. I don't disagree
Yeah.
with that, but I don't know if that exists or it
Now,
doesn't.
I only vote when it's a
So I'll
tie,
ask.
but you can tell where my vote is on this.
Yeah. I mean, the timing is definitely tight. I mean, I'll say that. The timing is really tight. I mean, we got the bond estimates and the project estimate a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, the board, I mean, we were going to meet, but the power was out and no one had internet. And people were telling me that I would have to send smoke signals to tell them where the meeting was gonna be, so I gave up. We're meeting tomorrow night.
What time and where is your public hearing on the bond?
So,
7:00.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but 7 o'clock is when the board meeting starts,
7:00
and
is the
7 o'clock
public
is the
hearing.
public hearing.
It's in the gym.
7 o'clock in the gym.
Did
So
everybody
has
else
that
know
been-
about that already?
Has that been put out on the
Very
listserv,
much.
or has anyone,
see, I
because
haven't seen
I
it.
didn't know that, let's
So
put it that
there's,
way.
it was in the newspaper, and we did our public notice. There, it's posted around town. It should be on the bulletin board out here.
Uh-huh,
As far as being on the listserv, I'm not sure about that, I don't have the
I think there
listserv.
was a note about school board meeting.
yeah, but
So
I
the
didn't,
public
today
notice-
there was a note about the board meeting on the listserv, but
That's
I'm
all.
gonna offer that I think that this public hearing should have been posted on the listserv too. I don't think it's your fault, and I don't know if it's any one person's fault. I'm gonna say that to the room that I think that this public hearing should have
So
been,
then you'll have to blame me
posted.
for that, because I would have had to give it to somebody who was on the listserv. I'm not on the listserv. So
Yeah,
that
but
was-
somebody
that's-
should have- somebody
but
should have-
that's not a legal place to post it.
but it's been posted in the other
But send it to me and I'll
spots.
shoot it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's posted at like the post office and the bulletin board and,
Right.
Yeah.
and then it was
It
in
was
the
in the
newspaper.
newspaper and it's out here in the,
Okay.
in the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they've already been told. I mean, you know, it's been publicized, it's been in the paper, it's been legally
It's
published.
legally.
Yeah.
Sure, it's always good to put it on the list.
I mean, we put all of
I
our
agree.
board meetings on the listserv, so
Right.
the listserv is probably where most people would have expected to see.
It would have been a courtesy, and I know that the select board struggles with that at times as well.
Yes, we do.
So-
The list-
Yeah,
I'm
it's,
sure do.
it's hard, it's easy to
I
just
know.
have like an oversight, but
Yeah.
I would hazard to guess that almost no one in town knows this public hearing is happening tomorrow.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I have just a question here. We're putting this, this construction project puts another $65,000 a year into the budget, am I correct?
Yes,
That adds about 0.7%?
yes.
On top of the,
That's for the first year's
Well,
interest, for the bond.
yeah,
That is correct, 64,982.93.
okay, and so.
We don't pay it the first year though.
You do, pay the first interest is due, if you do the bond and you take the bond out, first interest is due in February of
February.
25.
2020.
Oh, all right, yeah, because you're on a different fiscal year than the town.
Right, it's
25, right.
0.75% increase.
For the first
The pay,
year.
only for the first year though, depending on the schedule of
Right.
the loan, that payment will change annually. And the impact on taxes will be different annually. So to give you, Yola sent me this earlier, since it's come up. If we did, for example, a 10-year bond payment,
Oh,
in year one, you would have the $64,000
Same thing for the 20.
cost, right?
It's the same for the 20, she started with the same.
Yeah, no, but it
interest rate.
changes in the subsequent years, so that's why, right, because it's 10 versus 20. So the idea here is that in year one, that $64,000 will equate to $64 on a $400,000 home in terms of what the tax change will be. In year two, on a 10-year bond payment, it doesn't say here what the total cost of the payment would be in year two, but the tax impact for a $400,000 home increases to $316. In the final year, year 10, it's 260, right? So we'll print out the schedule so you can see. The difference here, obviously, I don't know if there's a difference in the rate, the interest rate, but there's obviously a difference in the total interest paid and what the payments are gonna be annually after year one, whether you do 10 or 20. So, on a 20-year bond payment in year two, the impact on the $400,000 home is $208. In year 20, it's $132. So,
But that's just the bond.
yeah, and I
Not the
actually,
regular
Except I'm paying over 20 years.
I have to say that, yeah, the net interest cost on the 10-year loan is 2.7%. The net interest cost on the 20-year loan is 3.4%. Again, those tax rates are also dependent on the total assessed value, right? Those rates assume that the annual tax impact rate, those dollars, assume that it stays at the current $410 million, right? So that also can fluctuate, and that's gonna
The
impact
grand
the
list
rate.
stays at the 410. The grand list stays at the 410.
Yeah, exactly. Because, that assessed value, so that they're calculating those rates against that assessed value. So that can always, I would imagine over 20 years, that's going to change.
But remember too, that the bond payment remains fairly stable as you go through time.
Mhm.
So it's just in the first year that it becomes additional money to your budget. I mean, you still have to raise it in the next year and then.
Well, you're
but it's
raising
not-
the base.
Right, so you're not,
But you've
it's not
agreed
an
to the,
impact of an increase each year, it's just on the first year.
Yeah, the annual
Right.
increase percent that's
Right.
caused by the bond after the first year, it doesn't show up as an annual percentage increase,
Right.
but it does show up by, it's
Just
included
its
in the budget
existence.
and the base.
exactly.
And that's the whole phony thing about the accounting,
Right.
because we don't go to zero-based accounting. And because we go to differential, it hides that.
Well, there would also be a big percentage increase in the second year because you're making the first principal payment.
Right.
Which you
Yeah.
weren't during
So I
the,
mean,
so
it's-
$65,000.
Still, we gotta come up with the 2.5 million at some point
Yeah,
in time.
260,000 in principal.
Yeah, theoretically, more than that, right? You're coming up with actually, at the
That
high
plus
mark, the
interest.
high mark is $3.5 million for the project. The 10-year probably puts you at, you
3% on that
presumably
amount.
like $500,000.
It's about $14,500 a month payment.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
I mean, we need to maintain the building. I mean, one thing that, my sense is that there hasn't, I don't know when the addition was put on, that was between 2000 and 2010. The addition was put on, but really nothing was done in the lower school. And so it's been a long time, right?
All right,
And
the
you
old-
have to make, and the
I thought
building
they-
itself is a
No, they
capital
didn't.
investment.
The old rule, which we don't follow, is 10% of the value of the building is spent every year on maintaining it and keeping it up to date.
Mhm,
And we don't do that.
right,
And no government agency I know of ever does that. But if you go to architectural school
mhm.
or a civil engineering school, that's what they teach you. And that is how you keep everything up to date, and up to code, and working.
Yeah, but the sensitivity, I think, for the school is that, they're also trying to increase maybe the value of the curriculum, increase salaries for teacher, and they're trying to create an environment in which, like, kids are learning, and they're trying to advance with the, state-of-art technology in terms of how kids learn today. And so, I think the building kind of it's easy for the building to take a back seat in the world of education, and I think that has probably happened here to some extent.
I'm not
We have to-
criticizing the school for that, I'm
Right.
just saying, that's true in every government
Yeah.
facility that you go into. They're post office buildings that haven't had a cent spent on building maintenance for 50 years. Well, actually,
Yeah,
it's
I
more
know,
than
if you
that.
go,
And
if
it's
you go
still
out to
work.
Hawaii, the military base, it still has bullet holes in the side from Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, so
That's good.
it's not like, this
It's
is not an
unique to the
uncommon,
school.
this is not an uncommon event.
Scott?
I get what you, so I want to respond to a comment that Jen made is in terms of the old edition, because I was involved, the previous renovation project, and that was 2013 was when it was.
Oh, was that recent?
Accomplished, and we were aware of many of these same problems, that are coming to light now, and, I don't recall exactly all the discussions that went into it, but we were comfortable with the encapsulation, not touching the bathrooms in the lower school classrooms. We did look at demolishing that whole lower barn school as one of the options for the project. So a lot of these things were thought about and discussed at the time, and I suspect there'll be people at the meeting listening to the bond issue who were like, but wait, I thought and we did do some work on the existing school, which maybe only lasted for 10 years, I don't know, but that's, I mean, I think all of these things are gonna have to be part of the public education component in order to sell the bond issue, so.
I know that we've had some tiles that have become friable and broken in the cafeteria. And we were struggling with that last year, so there is that encapsulation piece has been, what's the word for it, compromised. Also the outside red part of the school, all of that outside siding is asbestos siding and is friable. So that, I mean, they'll give you more information tomorrow because I don't have all the information. But there are a lot of struggles that they've been having, classrooms that they can't get to heat and it's 60 degrees or 55 degrees, and then other classrooms that are 85 degrees, and, you know, the kids are, I know that is also an issue.
Right.
in the
Well,
building.
and that was an issue 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we elected not, or they came in and rebalanced things, which probably didn't help, but.
Sometimes you could solve it a much cheaper way than replacing the A system.
But I'm sure they'll have a big presentation tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are people ready to go home, or would they like to consider moaning about the bond?
Zoom in tomorrow night to the meeting if you can't go, so you get all the info.
Alright.
You can zoom to be.
All right, I will accept a motion to adjourn at 8:17.
I was, Scott,
No, nobody seconds, do we just stay?
Who seconded Scott?
I think I remember the numbers.